Sexy turn, sexy turn, sexy turn, and nailed it. Hey everyone, welcome back. You know what? Yeah, try
Hello.
one more time.
What?
Never mind. My humor has just completely evaporated over my break. I guess we'll just have to cast the games. Welcome back, everyone.
Hey,
It's
Clubhouse, Skittle.jpeg, PG Tips, Rainbow Six Siege. Apologies for technical issues. I think those are all the key things that we need to talk about.
I can only agree. It was entirely your fault. A gag employed upon you by a very, very close friend of yours with a utter understanding of the rapport of how to rib you, and you enjoy it. We're coming back to Clubhouse. We're coming back here to finish up this rivalry between Skittle and PG Tips. Skittle utterly demolished PG Tips on Villa, but PG Tips did not take it lying down. They are the ex-Lexi roster. They're the kings of draws. They fight until the bitter end, and they did so there. However, it only net them a 7-2 on Villa. We saw Skittle on fantastic form, especially on their defense, which is where they will begin as we go to our second match, which is Clubhouse EMAC.
Hello.
We just saw PG Tips start kind of weak, strengthen up a bit, but it happened far too little and far too late. If they can bring that fire through into Clubhouse, what are your thoughts? What are you predicting for this match of Clubhouse?
Ooh, I mean, I've not got the highest faith today. I usually would. I'd usually say we could probably see this go quite close, but at the moment, we've seen a good amount of fight from PG Tips, but unless they start strong, if they start weak here, I think we're headed for another quite strong win for Skittle. So it's going to come down to these first few rounds and whether they can really get things going, keep it going the way that they just ended it on Villa. Looking like the old PG Tips that we know very well. So we're on straight on into the ban phase to start things off. And Skittle.jpeg, they are renowned for their relatively dull bans, but they're pretty good bans. And we start with Hibana.
Makes an awful lot of sense, of course. Nothing too surprising here. We are on Clubhouse. Hatches are a massive part of the game, especially over on the Church and Arsenal basement attacks. And she's going to be with her current changes to how her X-Carus are deployed, she is incredibly versatile. And with Capital falling off the board, not only is that area denial in the crossbow, but that's also a hard breach charge off of the board. He's been banned both times by PG Tips. I'm wondering if they are looking to...
No, PG Tips banned Capital last season every single match. So I'm not surprised that they're doing it again.
He is one of those ops. He's not very often played. Not many people want to rely on the hard breach charge as a significant part of your lineup. But when played well by a person that can whip out that crossbow and just make you dance across your hard positions and defenses, he is an absolute menace. Kaid makes, obviously, the same reasons as Hibana, makes an awful lot of sense going off the board. And Valkyrie, again, coming off this time banned by Skittle, but will make sure that the defense lacks that information that is so important later in the rounds.
It's nice to see a defense banning out that Valkyrie first. They want to use her off the board, but also off the board for their opposition. That's a bit more inventive from Skittle. That's less traditional. And one of the main things that we haven't mentioned, given that Hibana's ban, sure, that's pretty typical. When you have to ban the Capital, and Kenny knows this well, as he's the man I learned that Xaro at the time had banned him all the time, Capital. You've got the Thatcher freed up, so Junior can take that role straight away, and it should be a lot easier to get some of these breaches nice and wide open.
Certainly indeed, and they do have the Maverick and the Ace. Plenty of heart-breaching opportunity there. The Ace, not necessarily the one you'd expect, but with Hibana gone, you're really deciding between Ace, Maverick, and Thatcher. And when hatches are the thing to deal with, a Maverick and Ace make probably the most sense. You don't necessarily want to use that the Thermite charge, which is so good, opening masses of walls just to get a hatch open. So that makes plenty of sense. We have the Ash and the Sledge also there for the soft breaching utility and the nades, which makes, again, plenty of sense. On the defensive side, Bulletproof Gadget Central. We've got those Mysore Cams and Malusi's Banshees there to provide intel and slow down the attack.
Certainly sightful from you, Barnell.
This, I'd be okay with it if this became a thing. I'm liking that.
I mean, I did do the Snoit Kadurps, the predictions earlier.
That was
Should we
good.
just do everything backwards?
I think we should just keep playing with it. You know, let's not.
PG tips. That sounds pretty good. Skittle.jpeg doesn't.
Sounds better than PG tips.
It doesn't have the same ring to it, does it?
It doesn't. No. Interesting to see Maverick going over and making this crouch hole into dirt tunnel, a wall that you maybe is a more has an Ace Selma charge written all over it.
Yeah, but it's quite easy just to get a little hole and then leave it, come back later if you need. It's a pretty good way, especially when they don't need to rely on Mav to get other hatches and things like that. It's a pretty fair way to move in. And so far, speaking of moving in, PG Tips, they've taken all the ground that's given to them, given this very, very deep sit from Skittle.
It is every single defender on that bottom floor. No roam presence at all. Nothing really to prevent a late flank, but to be honest, I think it's unlikely. With the presence here above main stairs and bar area, rotating is going to come up from garage. That's a long walk, and you can get left by yourself very, very easily. I think it's unlikely that we'll see that.
Yep.
Nitrous leg. Me back.
A C4 from underneath doesn't quite work. See, that was us casting in reverse for all you who didn't notice.
Oh yeah.
We set it up earlier. Completely intentional. It was a C4.
I was looking at this. I was looking at the script. I read the stage direction as if it was dialogue. You know. What is going on with that hatch?
Oh, disaster! What a Maverick from?
What the hell is that hatch? I'm certain Yasai is saying much more expletive language to try and figure that out. Ace is going to have a go himself, try and make a different approach.
That's disgusting.
And it's not successful. What is that?
I don't know. I think this happened. I think it was Skittle. Last time I casted them on Oregon, there was a Mav breach that didn't open wall when it should have. It keeps happening at the moment. There's a couple of little Mav glitches, and unfortunately they shall not be able to go down that hatch. They're going to have to breach elsewhere. The EMPs and a very, very misthrown Selma charge, and the Selma wielding man is down. There's only 2 remaining. Oh, sorry, no, he is still remaining instinct on the Ace, but not for long. He's taking so much damage to his feet. I sound like that horrible histories guy, like on the mats, but not for long. And the round is won by Skittles.jpeg.
Just pushed a little too slow there, and those bullet hole angles from Blue.
God, I love horrible histories.
It was a great one. It feels bad coming out in the chat from the Observer there about that horrible hatch. I always like when people go for that breach of the church wall. It does split that site open really, really well. Second only, I think, to taking Blue. Blue, I think, is a cornerstone of that lower floor, and it is put to great use. I think even though the player that peeked from there was shut down, they dealt so much damage that it just spiraled out of control there. As they're coming big with the MP5, he picked up a double in the mid round. My eyes are on him right now. Like, we were talking earlier about Kagu Kenny and Joker and Inferius, but all throughout Villa was just open and killed man, all over it, roaming around, getting these picks, backing off safely, and he's not showing us anything overly different here.
Yeah. JPEG.skill for 1 round. First round. Damn it, I screwed it up. It was close.
You should probably rewind and just try it again. It's probably funny enough that it's worth redoing.
Nah. So they're bringing the double denial operators of Inferius and Joker. They've got the Wamai and Jaeger combo, which is very useful here to make sure, especially in garage, to hold on to that area. Some red ones as well. Try and sit nice and deep. Skittle, they're not necessarily too much fans of big extensions. They hold the little ground near the site and then have 1 or 2 roaming around as well, potentially, just to cause a bit of a fuss. And it's a very smart sort of play in terms of their setup that is very flexible, and also PG Chips struggling to deal with it so far.
Indeed. When you have that kind of deep, it makes that entry so difficult, and if you can't use some kind of utility...
Is a deep set.
If you can't get an entry and start working on that site utility, it can really work against you to a really difficult degree in that late round. And that's what Skittles are really doing very well, and then making that work for them.
You know what they're going to want, Barnell?
What are they going to want you back?
KD!
Your mic
They're going to want high KDs.
I didn't hear half of that because your mic was like, this is too much, and cut you out. The alt text under the tweet for visually impaired is Ebac in a high-pitched voice shouts KD to make a pun out of high as in tonality and KD, i.e. death ratio. Pray continue.
All right, well, Stockhurst is the first man to fall on the mute, which is disappointing for Skittle. No C4 for him, and no damage dealt to PG Tips in return. Until then, Azza starting things off onto Textroller, who really, he didn't quite come to life yet in this match at all. He was dead a lot on Villa, and again, he's dead here. Really struggling in terms of entries, which is not something we usually associate the man with.
No, he's really starting to wake up. I mean, like, it's almost less like he has to come to life. It needs to turn on before he can turn off and on again. He really hasn't stuck his plug in the game just yet. Now we see PG Tips lining up quite a nice split approach. We criticised them early in Villa for like one-directional attacks, and they're not showing that so far in this round.
Yeah, we don't like One Direction. And Joker gets that kill in Harry Styles. He gets a double and a triple now on the board. And he's going to be clipping that, and it's a real shame that I made such a terrible joke at that moment. Frenzy striking back, but it's not enough. Kangaroo Kenny finishes the job again there for the trade, and Skittle take another round.
I mean, it's exactly what we pointed out, right? They're sitting relatively close to sight, holding these buffer areas, and just fighting back so hard. Joker. I mean, to be honest, almost every member of Skittle are having moments of standout excellence. Stockhash hasn't yet so much. He hasn't really caught my attention, but in various moments, both Kenny, Azza, and Joker are currently my kind of... They're bubbling to... They're effervescing into my attention span with their current...
They drawing your gaze.
With an expert hand in light pencil on nice cardstock.
All right, well, there's another round for the defense of Skittle.jpeg. It's so hard not to say free up Tom. I'm really struggling this season with the names.
You've been saying Lexar an awful lot, and it doesn't help the fact that Instinct Textrolo do have Lex next to their names.
Yeah, that's not great.
Horribly unprofessional. We should probably keep them out.
Yep, I would. I was thinking we should definitely ruin people's clips. Like when someone's getting an ace, then we should just make like stupid noises so that it ruins their clips afterwards.
I need to get a soundboard where it's just like bubbles.
Yeah.
Like they're charging.
Oh, do you remember the thing we used to do to people in casual on Xbox? Like we'd be in a game and someone's in a 1 versus 5, so Barnell and I would bust out our ukuleles and strum like mad to make them panic.
Tension noises.
Oh my god. Yes.
We should do that in this competitive and professional environment.
Yeah, that's what they'd love. Let's just ruin everybody's fun. I mean, PG Tips really aren't having that much fun.
We're going to do it anyway. It's us casting. We might as well have fun with it.
We might as well. I mean, no one wants us here anyway.
We might as well.
I've already been called unattractive a bunch today. I'm not in the mood.
Oh, no, you're beautiful, man. I mean, look, someone complimented Kenny and Whippet, but let's face it, it's just because they're familiar faces. It's like saying, I like potatoes when you haven't had eggs yet.
Okay. Well, PG Tips, let's see what they can do with their attack. They've been rather inconsistent so far, and this is the site where things get messy. So that could favour them somewhat, I think.
It does. I'm interested to see what the actual defensive mentality is. We've got that classic extension, and more importantly to me, a rotate through logistics. Gym and bedroom, especially with those floor angles that are so common to see, is a death trap to be in. You cannot be safe really anywhere on that site, and with the extension across toward the east and the ease of access back into logistics, you can really rotate and take up those positions all around it. But Skittle, it can be a little bit harder to do that when you're dropping men like flies. The attacker's taking onto that subroof area and shutting down too. You've shut down the Thatcher, that's good, but I believe the breach over by Jacuzzi is already open.
PG Tips in a strong position. Of course, they've been in strong positions in the past 3 versus 5s quite often on Villa and still not managing to convert. And this is a site that is so messy, you can't really call it even with a huge man advantage for one team. Still currently quite even. 1 minute 20 for these attackers to figure out what they want to do. They haven't cleared out below, but the pings are coming. He can't act on the ping. As he's cooking the nade, he's shot out from the side by Joker with an aggressive peek across from CC. And Kangaroo Kenny picks up another. There's only 2 attackers remaining. Tex Rolo pushes on into the site. Surely he knows Kenny's there, but no, doesn't quite get the call right. He takes out Joker. Hopefully he doesn't think that's him. No, I still believe both players are aware of Kangaroo Kenny's position on the smoke, taking a lot of damage in now what... I mean, if he dies here, it could be very good for Skittle. He takes some
shots missed.
Yeah, gets some damage off onto Tex Rolo, but he's finished off, leaving only Azza, and his position was known downstairs earlier when the sledge was trying to kill him, and the plant can take place from the Maverick.
And now that it's stuck, he has such a...
It's a 1 versus 2 bar now. It only calls for... And the round is won by the Maverick. The pressure too much for the Melusi at the end.
I mean, in those tense situations, the only thing that can do it justice is a very intense, abstract, modern art piece performed on ukulele. We go back down to Church. Skittle starting us off pretty well, but PG Tips, they're not going to let Skittle get that 6-0 half that we saw back on Villa. They're staking their claim on this game a little bit earlier on, and if they can get fired up like we saw them towards the end of Villa, I've got a little bit of hope that this could be a much, much more contested round.
Yep,
Matt,
they seem to do... Yes.
Session of Siege.
Yes, they seem to do a lot better when things get a little bit messy and a bit peculiar. They can pull out in those big moments and get the results. It's always a bit of a scrap. Of course, they've only taken 3 rounds so far in this game in total. Skittle taking a lot more in return. They've got the 9 at the moment, so it looks very strong still for Skittle. And on no defense of the basement, they are generally favored. Let's see if Yase can do a bit of a better job in opening that moto hatch this time.
Yeah, no idea what was going on there. Very unfortunate. We had the feels bad in the chat, and it very well deserved. Now we saw a complete.
Hey, wait,
sit.
Barnow.
Yes?
Barnow, do some amazing casting.
And once again, I fall under pressure. Now I'm interested to see whether or not we have the same kind of deep sit. Can we get a deep sit from the evac?
Sit.
Thank you. The door Church in round number 1. It worked out in Skittle's advantage, so I would not be surprised. Joker. He's just prepping so much of this wall to be a nightmare. Look at that, is heinous. And it offers so much coverage of the site where taking blue would be a really powerful thing to do for Skittle, for PG Tips, I mean, for the attackers.
With the angles open across as well, that little rotate open to Joker, it gives him a bit more flexibility, but also means that if the attackers get in, they are exposed from the side if they don't have control of the opposite site. So a pretty smart setup here from Joker and Skittle.jpeg. Yase getting to work on the blue stock hatch instead this time. Will it?
No.
No, not again.
That should be open already.
No, what have you done? Why? No!
Yasai! What siege god did you anger? What have you done?
Oh,
What
no.
small rodent did you sacrifice and burn into the light of the full moon to make this happen to you twice in a row?
Very unfortunate from the Maverick. Of course, they still have the ace, but I don't think it's going to work on that hatch. It looks like that hatch, it's open for visual angles, but they're not going to be able to drop. They're going to have to go all the way around the stairs.
That is so unfortunate. Selma's going off 2 U's to open up a hatch because only 1 explosion per summer goes off on a hatch, so you do need both to do it, which means he's only got 1 left in pocket. That hatch into Moto is opened, however. Eza steps up the stairs, gets rid of the drone, and shuts down Jane Jr., the Thatcher hitting the ground, and that's going to be hard breaching open the church wall. But a triple kill for Azza. He shuts down another Yasai and Frenzy are left all by themselves, and Skittle are coming for blood on this one.
He gets another one, and it's only Yase remaining. He's had such poor luck across this game so far, trying to get these hatches open. Oh, but he does shut down the Melusi in return. He's got quite a few more to deal with. It's 4 in total, creating a 1 versus Ooh, a 1 versus 5 comeback is the only thing he can do from this position. He can't manage it. Sockeye stepping up for Skittle to seal another round. 3-1 for them. Very, very unfortunate. Some glitches here on the Mav. Saying maybe open in another way. Yeah, maybe you could do the kind of half strategy. Like
Maybe.
people do lots of different things. Will the metal be? Maybe he misplayed it. So I don't know.
I don't know.
Kangaroo's suggesting that it might be something to do with the method of it being metal. Is that not how you?
I don't
know.
believe. So hatches have a hit point, like a health pool, and you deal damage to it with the torch. You don't actually need to do the edges of the hatch to open it. It's just about dealing damage, and doing the edges is often the safest way of doing so, which is why you can burn some with a torch, some with Hibana pellets, some with a Selma, and that damage just all stacks up, and when you hit that threshold, the hatch is destroyed. So there is definitely some kind of bug there, which is causing a very unfortunate problem for the attackers of PG Tips. But for now, it appears to be a general game bug, and so no action can really be taken to deal with it as far as the game goes.
Yeah.
It seemed the Selmas did do it. The Selmas did open the hatches when they were the only thing used, so maybe rely on the Selmas, maybe lean on a Thermite if you have to try and get these open, because for now, the Maverick is not having much success.
Yes, well, Bonner, at the moment, I mean, your Mav is having a couple of technical issues. You've still got the Thatcher and the potential for a Thermite and Ace, a lot of other options. There is still a lot you can do. And the Maverick, not necessarily just the hatch, he can get lots of stuff open in other ways. We saw him working together.
Bring someone with a hard reach charge.
Yeah, bringing the sledge, whacking the wall, and then opening it. It's wide open. They've certainly been doing that here. They managed to get it open with the Mav last time on this particular site as we return to CCTV and Cache, or CC and TV and Cache, as you named it last time.
Of course. Got to have clear nomenclature when it comes to these regions, as it matters so much, these very tight and well-practiced angles. Sending Cache flying, opening up these visuals, make sure no debris gets in the way of these fights. Kenny just checking those cams like a good little smoke.
And yes, the wall is getting worked on nice and early. Claymore's down. They are prepped for this move, making sure that Azure doesn't get as many kills as last time, especially early on. Tex Roller was the first man to fall again that last round. Of course, the rest of the team dying straight afterwards didn't make him look as bad. More of a team bad in general, but he's having a really rough time, that man, today.
He's struggling. Kenny in a very strong position here to deny the entry from the breach with those smokes.
Did he move that shield, or has he got two?
He did. I think he moved the shield. And he's also the Wamai downstairs beneath him to help. And also the mute down there, so he's very well... Yeah. It's unlikely he's going to get pushed up those stairs anytime soon, especially without warning. Oh, a single shot goes off as Yasai one-taps Sockeye. Not entirely sure where that... Sockeye was the mute playing in Garage, I believe, on the lower floor, so that's going to clear up a bit of that presence, but Joker is still there.
Yeah, with the Jaeger and Wamai combination, it's really hard to flush some of these players out of the Garage. Support from underneath, both those players, the Jaeger and the Wamai, holding it firm. But with the breach open, I think the attackers have moved into the site. Yes, and he's been pinched right next to him. A refrag coming out from Inferius. And it's a 4 versus 3 now for PG Tips, who are deep inside of the site. Instinct can't plant here with the player right next to him on the opposite side of the wall. Texrolo gets another kill, and there's only 2 players remaining. He gets the shot through the wall. Brilliant awareness from Kenny. He takes so much damage in return, but he's still alive to throw some canisters and get another kill. He's got one onto Junior.
Really nice double there to shut down the planter and get rid of that pusher. Kenny left in a 2 versus 2. Kenny and Azza, 2 maniac fraggers so far. One coming up red stairs. Is there any intel for it? Those pre-fires will count. The ability to turn around, and there it is! Azza with a pistol shuts it down. Skittle.jpeg are putting their picture into place.
Well, I'm not sure if Azza is like a renamed, but we were saying from before, whether it's somebody with a different name or it's one of the new guys you've picked up. But Kenny, if you're considering people for your new roster for Skittle, keep this guy around, I would probably advise, because he is absolutely popping off, and Kenny himself should not be underrated. I hate praising the man. I hate it, which is why you should realize how high praise this is. He was fantastic that round. He pretty much brought it back solo from a really tough position.
Man, the rating, there are moments coming out of PG Tips that I want to praise, but the ratings speak for themselves. The cost is so low. The KPR is terrible. The survival rate. I mean, they're just not winning these fights. They're putting themselves in these positions to get one, maybe two in a round, but never getting more.
But you can't blame everything on just a hatch not opening every now and then.
No.
They didn't get the blue hatch open earlier on, and then the entire team got wiped by one guy, pretty much. It's not really an excuse. So of course you can be at it. They just got to keep there, and then move to the site that they won earlier. Their only win so far on the attack. A 2 versus 1 situation against Azza. Didn't manage to win it out last time. That's what they'll be hoping for again, PG Tips, if they can do it more successfully as things move on. And Stockeye's got the mirror as well. Yes, I was going to mention that. First Spanner, I beat you to it just about.
You did.
Is the fact that they banned it out themselves on Villa, and they've brought her along for this hold. So a different couple of operators, indicating a different kind of hold this time. Maybe more successful, as they did lose it.
Looks like another window being placed on the jacuzzi wall itself, but maybe there to make attacking, getting it open a little bit more dangerous. Sledge going to start this entry off on the east side. Joker beneath, roaming as the Jaeger, coming up red stairs.
Not the east hand side?
Deny this entry. Look, man, I've only got so many hands to spare. And we saw some really nice coverage last time we were here on Jim. While Skittle did lose the round, there were a couple of moments there when I believe it was a player was pressuring the gym window, looking down at the player in billiards when a ping from a drone came out. And in that exact moment, another flank, I think Joker came up onto that CCTV window and shut them down. That kind of cross-play communication is going to be really, really key, and maybe might see them a little bit more success than we saw last time.
Yeah, I think PG Tips just... Well, they still had the man advantage, so I don't know quite what happened there. They didn't clear out that roam strongly enough. They didn't push the players back to site and then keep them there, which was the issue. They do have the Nomad to do that if they put this pressure on. Some sort of peak coming out in the meantime from Azza, from Tunnel.
Big dirt tunnel.
And he took a lot of damage for it without dealing any himself.
Yeah, not what you really want to see.
I love this open mirror setup. We've seen it a couple of times in ECS so far this season, and it's a challenge for Frenzy. Oh, and it opens up the angles for impacts, for C4s, for everything to deny, and there is denial indeed. The exothermic charge. Oh no, it did actually go off. Sorry, I thought that failed.
A close one either way, but very advantageous for PG Tips getting it open. We've got that Wamai, however, playing behind the secondary mirror, and he and his Magnet's going to make a very difficult task to flush him out. Stockash shuts down Junior, the Nomad no longer able to shut down that flank watch, but the attack coming out from Jacuzzi side, another one is shut down from mirror. And this is starting to really minimize the ability for PG Tips to have a strong pinch. We've got the Yesai on the other side of the map by himself completely.
Yeah, rather isolated now. All the players coming in from different areas, and Azza is very well positioned. So sneaky downstairs, hiding to get that kill onto Text Rolo. He's not the first to fall this time, but fall again he does. Yase got to make just a bit of a fuss, make some holes, scare the Jaeger of Joker. He still has to confirm that kill, and he shot through his own hole, leaving only Instinct. He's finished off. It's another flawless round for Skittle. How many times have we said that already? At least 2, if not 3 or 4.
Well, they certainly learned from their mistakes in that last one. They did not let themselves get picked apart at all.
Xbox mirror strats. I mean, Kenny, I was praising it just before. I love it. It's great. But I'm clearly just a great Xbox player.
I thought you were going to say that you're just clearly a great fan of Kenny's.
Nah. No, he's too attractive. I'm jealous.
Oh yeah, that's probably it.
Especially today.
Well, look, you had a hot date earlier. You know, you abandoned it to go and help me, and I appreciate that.
It's fair.
But sometimes you just got to trade up when the opportunity presents itself.
Yeah, it was a good trade up. To be fair, hanging out with you, it's better than any hot dude that I might be dating. Anyway, we're moving over to CCTV and Cash again. Well, it's a bit of a difference here. We've got PG Tips now on the defense. They managed to get 2 rounds. They've won 1 attack today at the very least. And now that they're on the defense, they're going to want to get a few more. This time, most importantly, they didn't get 6-0'd. So they don't have to win as many rounds in a row. They have that room for error.
They have the room for error, but it is not very expansive. Seeing PG Tips here, it looks like a relatively tight sit. We're not seeing any crazy room happening just yet. Still the opportunity to have it. Joker there on the drone, be spotting out those early positions. And last time when we saw PG Tips go onto the defensive, they looked much better than they did on the attack. When we saw them back on Villa, it seemed like a different animal when they were on defense, and Skittle got pulled apart by them. Are we going to see the same thing at this time? If you're PG Tips, you hope so, to try and bring back some of this differential and claw your way maybe towards that characteristic draw.
Well, you know, they look like an animal. It might be the PG Tips monkey.
It could, you know what? It could well be.
Well, hopefully no monkey business from them. They'll be taking this nice and seriously. As this site, it's generally by the book. You can pull out some interesting different things here and there. But there's a lot you can do by just following the guidebook. How to win on this map. And they've clearly not read it because they've lost 2 men already. I think that's the first thing it says. Don't lose 2 men right off the bat. And right after that, it's Yase as well falling. Azza gets another. It's a quad kill. He did that earlier on his defense. Joker finishes the job. It's for Skittle. What on earth was that defense? That was not in the book. It wasn't in the guide.
Looks like they skipped that, went straight to the pictures with the pretty pictures on there. Azza, however, he has read it back to front. And that's the second quad kill that I think we've seen come out of him. I mean, he was massive on Villa, and he has not slowed down in the slightest. I don't think I've seen, unless he's a player with a different name in this current game. I don't think I've seen Azza before, and I'm looking forward to seeing him again.
Yeah.
He is putting the work in right now.
It's another quad. Just fantastic from the attack. I mean, we barely saw what their attacking strategy was because the round was over before they even got to implement it. They just had the Ash running around underneath a round lounge garage, just taking fights, winning every single one. That is a key point. My point from Villa that pretty much lost PG Tips some of those games was the lack of refrags that they've struggled with, and that there's no better example than Azza right now because he gets a kill, then another, then another, then another. With PG Tips not close enough to act on it whilst he has to spin around, he just has that extra second to readjust himself, be ready for the next man to come, and then take that fight. That's not what you need, PG Tips. You need to be there for each other. You need to listen to the Friends theme tune and be there for their teammates when the kills start to fall. That's how that song goes, right?
I'm not going to lie, man. I haven't actually watched Friends in years. I was watched it on E4, but before going to school.
Oh yeah.
In the 45 minutes, half hour or so before kind of.
Well, you were lucky because you live
Malitos.
right next to school, so you didn't need to go as early.
Yeah, depends which house.
Oh, yeah, fair enough.
Looks like Mute Jammers here slowing down the Ace's ability to enter into construction. We are attacking gym and bedroom.
Yes.
Now this is the first time we've seen PD Tips defending this spot. We saw them get their only win so far in this round, attacking it. They looked decent. I liked the look of Skittle's defensive strategy. Oh, this is a good start. Textrolo, slow on the beginning, but there's the refrag. Textrolo knocks out Azza, Infurious puts a nade onto Junior, and that's going to be a nice trade. Just a quick note, Azza's going 14-3 after that kill. It is round number 8. We are not quite done, but we could be very shortly. It is match point for Skittle able to take all 6 points from this Playday.
That first kill from PG Tips was exactly what they need to keep doing. It's Tex Rolo, the man struggling on entry, getting the kill onto Azza, the man just really enjoying himself and getting a lot of entries, usually on to Tex Rolo. So that switch should be useful. But again, you see a refrag coming out for Skittle every single time, even if they do manage to lose that first man. Spread out now from I almost said free up Tom again. Skittle, they're right up near the site. Sokaz gets one, but is taken out in return. Again, another refrag. this time in the hands of PG Tips. If they can keep on top of this round may well be theirs, but they're losing one too many men. There are 2 left against 3.
Kenny eats some damage from a Nitrocil and then some more from the Ella. Joker and Furious have a step up in for the triple kill, and Skittle just pick apart so many angles open, just pulling these defenders in all directions. They shut them down, and with that, Skittle.jpeg take home both maps won in today's games, both Villa and Clubhouse, with a 7-2 and a 7-1, decisive as all hell. The community voted for draw. PG Tips did not wake up to provide.
They certainly didn't. Azur, what a performance from him. I mean, across the board, every single member of Skittle, you can't really call out anyone. We highlighted Kenny a lot as well at various points, and the organization, there's a mix of who that can be up to. I'm sure a lot of it was down to him, so very smart in general. I was hoping that one would be a bit closer, to be honest. I thought we might see a bit more of that PG Tips towards the end of Villa coming back in and it being contested. But in the end, a huge wipe.
A really big wipe, and that's what you need for a big arse like Kenny. I mean, we saw a bit of the sparks flying in PG Tips, but it really needed to steep a little bit longer before we could see them. And I hope later in the season we can see some of that. But Skill just, every time they opened up the biscuit tin, it was like, nope. Oh, you want to get around it? Nope. And a lot of that was just letting Azur off the leash, and I'm looking forward to seeing him in the future. Have you got any other closing comments on this? We've seen with this, Skittle will push themselves up that leaderboard. They'll kick Arctic back down. They are back on the podium, and they're going to make sure they are keeping up with that leading pack throughout the rest of this season. Any closing remarks from you, Evac?
It's very useful for them to get so many points on the board. They've moved from 10 points to 16, which is quite a significant switch, with Lions Creed at the top with 22, just underneath 19, and it's a lot closer with them sitting on 16. So they're within 1 win behind Jaegers. And Jaegers and Lions Creed have been fantastic so far this season. It's been very difficult for anyone to take any points off them, really at all. So that's going to be a tall order once those games start rolling in.
Perfect. Well, we'll hopefully get to see some of that next weekend. And we've got more matches to show you today. So, do we know who we have after this?
I don't. I wasn't paying attention. It's AYB. That's it. I think it's AYB.
Perfect.
Karlstad.
Perfect.
Karlstad
so
Kings.
we are going... we didn't miss anything. We are going to hop off for now. Thank you so much for joining us for this first game. Stick around and be right back because we have AYB versus Karlstad Kings. Karlstad Knights, not Kings. Cast by the wonderful Jerry and Jerry's apprentice or something like that. So fingers crossed that'll be a fantastic game. Doubtless brought to you by some wonderfully talented casters of Yukin fame. Wow.
Whoa.
So we'll be watching. Hopefully you will be too. And we will see you guys next time. Bye.